So Qasim, thank you. I think so. We are as per the schedule. We are live now, and really looking forward for a very exciting conversation with you on my podcast. So P3M with Kailash Upadhyay. So Qasim, in this podcast P3M, my endeavor is to share my own experiences, and most importantly from guests like you, who have specialized experience in different subject, different principles, different skills, and share that with the community at large. So LinkedIn, where we have the professional around us, and today, as we're going to talk about the governance adaptability. That governance is not an universal model. It should be adaptable to the unique regional and organizational needs actually. So there's going to be and I have got great feedback when I posted about this podcast. Lot of comments I got from lot of user that they really are looking forward for this podcast to go live, and I'm sure that this is going to be an amazing session. So first of all, welcome Qasim to this
Thank you.
P3M with Kailash Upadhyay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. So, for my audience, Qasim, let me briefly introduce you to the audience before
Thank you.
we set the
Sure.
context and formally start the discussion. Okay. So, French Qasim has over 20 years of professional work experience. He has worked into different regions, of course, Middle East, North America, and many other geographical, regions where you have served your project, program, and portfolio competencies. In terms of certification, I would like to tell you you are a PMP and a PGMP certified professional, Qasim. And I have seen you doing good work in this domain, Qasim. So
Thank you.
I think so. This is what I can introduce, but definitely there will be a lot of discussion, and the community going to get rich experience from your working from such diverse geographical environment, Qasim. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So I
Cool.
hope anything else you want me to introduce, then feel free to just talk about it. This is what I know you briefly. So let's set the context for this podcast,
Sure.
Qasim. Here, as I said, we'll talk about the governance, and why in today's business environment, why governance have to be adaptable to the unique organizational need, to the unique need of a particular region, and so on. But before even we talk about that, let's talk about what is governance briefly, and then we will talk about its adaptability and why this adaptability is important for the program's success. So French, first of all, there is there's a practice guide by PMI, the governance for portfolio, program, and projects, and I have come across a very interesting line. Of course, this entire practice guide is great content to enrich our governance knowledge. But Kasim, I would like to share a few lines from this practice guide, governance practice guide for program, projects, and of course portfolio. It was
Yeah.
written there that governance activities ensure that management activities are defined, planned, and implemented. And without governance, I think so management is rarely possible. So it is the governance that decide what are the management activity, who will perform them, and and even governing the implementation of those activities. So governance ensure the management activities are performed during this P3M initiative, the project, program, and portfolio initiative. A few more interesting things which I have come across in this practice guide for governance, where it says governance is strategical work, whereas management is tactical work. Okay, let me also briefly, talk about why governance is strategic and why management work is more tactical work, actually. Okay, now it is management perform the project work, management do the project work, all the management activity, but it is the governance decide whether the project should be authorized, should be continued, should be terminated. So the strategic decisions are the governance responsibility. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so management is more about tactical, that okay, there have been certain targets, there have been certain objectives that we have to perform in a different way of working, whether agile methodology, some waterfall way of doing, or some hybrid approach. So there are maybe Kanban, DevOps. So management is more about tactical, about doing the work, but governance is more about strategic, whether this work is still aligned to the customer satisfaction, whether this work is still aligned to the organization strategy and objective. Should we continue to invest into these projects, management initiative, program, and portfolio management initiative? So management work is more of a tactical, and governance work is more of an strategical work in every project, program, and portfolio.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I would also like to share some my, because I always connect everything to my personal life. Actually, if I have to connect same thing, management, day to day management, see, in every day, paying utility bill, and even buying grocery, and doing few things, these are a lot of tactical work we do in our everyday life. From the management perspective, we manage kind of all insurance bill payment, all the
Yeah.
utility bill payment, these are, and also even buying grocery kind of things, and taking kids to dropping to school bus every day. These are the management activity, which are sometimes the practice standard is also saying these management activities are tactical and operational, because we have to do sometime every day. I have to do, get up early morning, drop my kids to the school, and something like that. But management is all about taking decisions, where management is not about just doing the routine thing, the tactical thing, the operational thing. Management is about, you know um, uh, h- do we really need a new home loan? This is a decision, maybe is a more of a governance decision rather than a management decision. Do we really need to change the school? Is our kids going to school? Is this giving us my kids the good education, good culture, good behavior? So management is more about strategy, driving the initiative, the taking decision around that, like that way. So governance is definitely very, very strategic responsibility. And in this case, PMI then again talks about, Kasim, governance is, have to be tailored. Governance have to be
Exactly.
tailored. Maybe the way I govern my kids may not be the same way applicable for you or somebody else. Okay. In fact, I always say this, Kasim, that the way my parents used to govern me, if I follow the same governance to govern my kids' everyday management work, then they becoming very irritated with me. They feel that
True.
the world have changed, the time have changed, and your way of governing us should also change. So this is what I want to tell you. Governance needs to be tailored to the environment, because the environment have changed today. The Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, uh, you know when we were a different kids kind of thing, the way our parents used to take decision for us, so they were governing our even career, which field we want to go, and but today kids, they have their own choices. They don't like if I tell my kids that okay, you have to go in this particular stream, follow this particular hobby career, then they don't like that way of taking decisions kind of things. Okay, so they say that dad, you need to change. And I definitely agree that adaptability in environment is very very important for every program success. So this is what
True.
I want your input now. What do you think governance role in today's business environment, where enterprise environment is changing a lot in this time, Kasim?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Mr. Kailash. It's really an honor to be in your podcast. And again, for all the viewers, I and Mr. Kailash, we have been talking about multiple aspects of project governance, program governance, and we have been talking about, how governance can be adopted and how one governance model should be drafted and how exactly it needs to be aligned with the organizational governance, enterprise level governance, and obviously on the portfolio governance level. So yeah, we have been talking about this, and it's going to be a great discussion. First of all, thank you so much for all the prelude. Before we get into the discussion, just few quick things. First of all, obviously we are not going to talk about the projects, or we're going to make sure that we are keeping the confidentiality intact. And besides that, for the audience, let me just clarify one thing from any of our discussions. I mean, Mr. Kailash is the guru of project and program management, so obviously he cannot do any mistake in this domain. But in case if you get any idea from my insight that this is maybe I'm advocating anything against the PMI standard, then that's not. Sometimes people think that maybe what we are reading, what we are studying, what we are learning in the PMI standards, those are just bookish knowledge. And when they are going to implement that into their real life, um, to the project management extent, those things are pretty much applicable. The earned value and all those formulas, you can really use that. Those are tangible things. So the project managers, they can actually feel that, okay, these are generating some values for them. And how the different processes work, especially in the project management in the PMP structure, those are pretty much very easy to define and very standard to use in any implementation. But when you go a step above, when you go into the governance layer, now this is where the challenges start. And this is where the responsibility becomes bigger as well. So, yeah, you rightly briefed about my experience, and thank you for that. So, I had the privilege to work with many multinational and also with the government as well back in my home country, Pakistan, and that was a great exposure because we got to work on national level, and we worked with multiple departments, with bureaucrats, with multinational private firms as well, in public private partnerships. So that was a different exposure. That was a different experience. With that experience, when I came to Middle East, and before that I was working in the US market as well. Now this is where I realized that the same model, and this is where our discussion, yours and mine, started as well, back in the days, that the same model, which was very successful, maybe in the private sector when I was working with the US market, with the US clients, and with the UK clients, Australian projects, and all those were successful because the mindset is different. Okay, first I thought that maybe this is just EEF, enterprise environmental factors. But later on, when I started connecting the dots, I understood that this is basically the adaptation which is required based on the region. Now, there is one thing which I must say in project management. Lesson learned is an input to the next project, and this is very common practice by all the project managers that they document the lesson learned. And whenever you're starting, for example, a CRM project, right? So your previous project manager always documents the lesson learned, and you have the organizational memory as well, and you have all those things in your documentation. Those are pretty standard. But when it comes about governance, governance is different. You need to first of all not just study the client, the account, you also need to see the region. And this is where, the actual struggle started when I came to this region. And even before that, when I moved to the government sector, I faced the same kind of challenge. And then, with the help of few of my seniors, we tailored the governance structure. We focused more on stakeholder engagement. We focused more on how do we align with the important stakeholders, and we also braced ourselves for any upcoming changes, any mood swings, or anything as well. The other factor which is also there in the region, in different regions, that is the understanding, and that is the adaptability of the users of the business for which you are working. So North American and European market, they're pretty mature. They understand. For example, Mr. Kailash, if you tell them this thing is out of scope, they will say, okay, here is a scope document. This is a change request. Fair enough. What is going to be the effort estimation and all that? That's a straightforward thing. Trust me, you go in the government sector, you go in the Middle East region, the expectations are different. So, I mean, I don't want to take a long time on just explaining this, but this is how we started, and this is what the basis of how we should adopt to the regional levels for the governance perspective.
That's really awesome, Kasim. I think so. Very well said. Um, government, the way their way of working is certainly very different than the private sector organization. And if we also talk about the non-profit organization, when they do their initiative, their governance model is completely different. So
True.
you very well said that one is you have worked into the government business environment, then you moved into various clients from the Americas region, and they are because uh, you rightly said the enterprise environment, their risk appetite may be higher or lower. I'm not saying that America's region has maybe more risk seeker than risk neutral or risk averse, or I'm not categorizing it. But what I'm saying that the risk, the risk profile itself varies. So even risk is a very important aspect of a governance model, that when you govern, keep the risk tolerance, keep the risk threshold into mind, and then adapt your governance model, governance structure and framework and so on. So you rightly said, based on the organization type, whether private, non-profit, government, that could be a context to adapt the governance model for the overall program success. You can't just take one model which you have applied into the governance sector, same model you can't exactly replicate into a private sector initiative, into program initiative. So that's very well said, Kasim.
Yeah.
Kasim, I would also like to tell you here, governance. See, many people still feel governance and management is one of the same thing, actually. Okay. And see, many people they loosely use this jargon, governance versus management. But when I have learned in my own learning, as I said, I do a lot of reading, not just the PMI prepared material, but a lot of other material. I also listen to many other podcasts where to enhance my own competencies and all. And one of the literature, of course, it's again published by PMI, where they say
Yeah.
governance means it has four unique function. Okay, the four functions are definitely the decision making function, the oversight function, the control function, and the integration function. So they are saying that whenever you think of word governance, think of taking decisions. Okay, because decision making is a very important functions of governance. And then oversight basically means ensuring that the management team, the tactical team, as I said, management is more about tactical responsibility, doing the work as per the plan, and if anything has to be changed, it have to be governed correctly, otherwise you can't change your plan. That is
Yeah.
what we have learned. So oversight means also making the management team aware of the enterprise environment, and so on. And control and integration are another very important function of governance. Integration primarily basically ensuring that every program aligns with the organization strategy and objective, and otherwise those programs are not relevant for the organization if they do not contribute to organization strategy and objective. So that is the integration aspect of governance. But Kasim, what I have experienced is, many people only follow for them, governance means just following the uh, predefined processes. For them, governance is nothing more than maybe PMO have defined certain best practices for managing the program, certain tools, certain metrics. So they only follow the processes rather than again based on different decision making environment, based on different other environment. So they do not adapt anything, and they follow these strict processes. So how do what is your thought in this perspective, Kasim, that governance is more than just following a processes, it's more about taking informed decisions, and not just taking decision alone, but delegating the decision based on proper risk tolerance kind of things and all. Would you like to share your point of view here, Kasim?
Sure. So that's very well explained from you by your side, and see, governance is definitely there is a different mindset in different regions, but if we talk about from the standard perspective, yes, there is a challenge that some managements or some organizations they consider that governance is perhaps close to PMO, or governance is another shape of probably the management or the operational management. Governance has a big role in managing. If we talk about from the project management perspective,
Mhm.
even in project management, there is a huge role of governance. A major chunk in project management, I would say in program management rather, is governance. And governance is absolutely about taking the informed decision. Now, and I would like to share a few examples with you as well. When we were looking into some of our projects, when we were seeing that okay, why the projects are getting challenged, being being not I would say failed, but we were going through some really big challenges, especially in the Middle East market. So with the management, we sat down with the management. I personally, I'm lucky to have really good colleagues even in the past and even now as well. So we sat down, we openly talked about it, that what could be the reason. Because for us, obviously, there was a new market as well, even for the management. I'm talking about again the Middle East management. So this is where we really looked into, and we dig deep and we looked into all the aspects that okay, the status reports are fine, okay, the status were green, risk register was there, rate log was there, weekly meetings were happening, the client was connected, project manager was assigned from the client side, from our side as well, scope was locked, right? But still, at some certain stages, we were facing challenges despite all the efforts. So what we started to do, we started to read the patterns, and we started to connecting the dots of all of our projects and programs, particularly in this region. And the pattern was similar. We were facing challenges at the stages of, for example, starting the project, because whenever we start the project or whenever we start a program, especially with a client, so again, there are internal programs, there are external programs. I'm talking more about the external programs, not the internal organizational programs. So whenever a program or a project from the project or program sponsor from the client that reaches out to the project management and the governance, everyone is excited. Everyone wants to just make things happen. Expectation management is a key thing which project managers or the project management unit, they try to manage. But in reality, especially if we talk about the Middle East region, it's the decisions and the hierarchy is multi-layered here, right? Maybe the person who is communicating with you, and it actually happened in our experience as well, he has the authority, he has the insights of the previous projects as well, he has all the scope control, he is doing all the meetings with you and everything, but at the end of the day, he is not the decision maker. And that's something which usually hits you at certain stages. We talk about the phase gate meetings, right? Even before the phase gate meetings, on some particular approval stages, in when we looked into all of our project, this is we were facing problems in requirement gathering sign-offs, right? Even after requirement gathering sign off, the design sign off, the ownership of those requirements, because again, like I said, the decision is multi-layered. Now this is where we realized, okay, and even if I take a step back, we did all the stakeholder management and all the stakeholder register, and we did all the stakeholder analysis and everything at the beginning of those projects when I sat with the project managers also. So that information was there. This is the project sponsor, this is the project manager, this is how much influence this guy has, and all the standard was there. Still, the challenge was on. Okay, so what we did, we started focusing more on those problem areas, and we started tweaking our governance model based on that. So previously, if our governance model was that we had to go on the governance meeting with our project manager and also with our client, we started focusing more on reading the signals. Now that's another important thing which I would like to share. Interpreting the signal is what governance do. Interpreting the signals from the report is what governance should do. And uh, and I would like to just add one more thing, Mr. Kailash. Management is also doing governance from their angle, but they at times they are so much busy, obviously, in their own work that they don't realize. But they are also doing their part of governance. But when we talk about the governance model, governance structure, interpreting the signals from all the projects and forecasting what is going to happen, this is where a true governance model should survive. I'm sorry, you're on mute, I guess, Mr. Kailash.
Sorry, Kasim.
Yeah.
I was also checking if there are any question on the LinkedIn so
Okay.
that we can also take those questions. But there were no questions there. So, but absolutely fine. But I would like to tell Kasim to the audience, if you don't mind, that if you are watching us live, if you are hearing us live, and if you have any question related to the governance aspect and is adaptability with Mr. Kasim, or with any question if you have to me, then do post on LinkedIn. And in between, I will be, keep checking your question so that, we can answer those questions. And our expert guest, Kasim, can also share his experience around those questions.
Sure.
But if those questions we are not able to take during this LinkedIn live session, but we will then respond to you offline that also we can do, but choice is your friend. So Kasim, that's really well said. And one uh, point that I really liked is reading the signals, okay, rather than just following the reports. Okay. Now, Kasim, here, I would like you, you to just explain us what does. Can you elaborate us for the advantage of this audience? What do you mean by reading the signals, and why it is very important elements of the governance of a program, Kasim?
Sure. So, by reading signals, first of all, let's talk about reading signals from where, interpreting signals from where. When we do governance, when we even our management as well, when I sit with my management or with my peers in my organization, even now and even before as well. So this is where we look into the projects, and this is where we look into the programs as well. This is where we review the resources. This is where we talk about the cross functional dependencies and how we are going to move forward. What do we need from our technical team side? Do we need to grow our team? All these kind of discussions come onto the table, especially with our management. So reading signals basically, if you go through the project artifacts, what does a project manager produce during the execution? So, as per the standards, he has to produce the risk log. He has to produce the project management reports, which we also call WSR or weekly status report, depending upon the frequency of how often you're going to review the project progress. And it also includes a lot of other artifacts, including any change request, any possible change in the design, any amendment. Now, what we started doing is we started looking into some common factors and some common areas which we identified into the other projects where the project is getting stuck. So even the project manager, even the client, they're very optimistic that they will be able to do it in this time. Let's talk about UAT. In fact, let's take a step back. Let's talk about data. So in our recent projects and even in the past as well, when we started the project, the risk was there by the project manager and by the technical team that client will not be able to probably provide them the data. Even if they provide the data, who is going to look into the data, whose job is what? And there were many ambiguities around. Client assured us from the inside, we knew that this is not going to happen. We even built some cushion for that data ambiguity or that slippage as well. And when the time came, and we also adjusted our technical delivery model accordingly as well. Now, despite doing everything, Mr. Kailash, when the stage of data arrived, we were stuck again. And this time again, why? Because of, again, EEF, external dependencies. There was a third party vendor who were supposed to work on the data and some integrations, and there were some top tier who was not available without their decision. This could not happen. So, this is where we understood, and this is where we learned through the hard way in the past, that this is even in the status report of the client, even in the status report of your project manager, that risk is green. We need to know how does this region work, and we need to interpret the signals. And by interpreting signals, I also mean that if in the same region, if we had encountered the problem, and if the patron is there, client is not available on the call for some time, even our resources are not available. It's not always the client, always. It's all at times it is our resources as well. At times your key resources resigns, right? So these risks are there. How you're going to adopt your model to it? You need to read the signals from the reports. Reports are from the project manager. Reports are from your internal resource manager as well. So we do get into these kind of situations, all of us, don't we? So this is where a good governance leader needs to review the documents and need to identify how to read the signals. If there is a pattern of delaying sign off, it means that client is reluctant. If there is a pattern of giving requirement in chunks, it means that probably there is a third party dependency, maybe at the program side, maybe there is hierarchical challenges are there. So these things are important for a program governance perspective. And one last thing, if we talk about the regions, especially if we talk about this region obviously works differently. So is US. In US region, you cannot expect to have a UAT or trainings when there is holiday season, can you? You know that there is going to be after 20th, for example, after 20th, or even I would say after 15th of December, if you are going to schedule any trainings for the client, or if you're expecting some sign off from the top management of any Western client, then you are yourself putting your program into a danger, right? Same
Yes,
goes for
yes.
the Middle East market, Mr. Kailash. So in the Middle East market, again, the pattern and the environment is different. Right now it's Ramadan here, right? So in the Ramadan season, the working hours are less, and obviously there is again a religious and there is a regional trend of focusing more on to the desk work rather than getting engaged into trainings or where the physical exertion is there. So these
Got
are
it.
again the thing. A project manager may write, client has given me a sign off on the UAT schedule, my team has given me a go ahead on the UAT schedule, we will be on track. But from the governance standpoint, you need to read the signals that this is going to fail at least. And I mean, around 60 to 70% of the projects in the industry across the globe, they don't fail because of the technical challenges. They fail because of the decision delays, because of the third party dependencies, and because of the user adoption.
Absolutely, absolutely correct, Kasim. And valid point said is reading signals are very important rather than just following the reports. On a lighter note, I want to tell you, Kasim, many time, what happens. You rightly said briefly that many time the report shows green everywhere, but maybe the actual health may not be, because sometimes the report gets its own manipulation, or
Yeah,
maybe because of so many things. So so, and I think so this is another reason. That's why I think so I could now understand that you're saying that don't just rely on when everything is shown green to you or to your clients. Sometime find the real trigger, see if everything is green, is it really green, or it is just data shown as a green? Or and it may not be, I'm not saying it is done intentionally. Sometimes
true,
it is done because of the normal way of working kind of things. And also this is a very valid point, Kasim. Rather than just relying a report, and what happens many time I have experience, and even in my own practice, Kasim, I also get many report. I am also governing many program initiative. And many times we tend to overlook the repetitive report, which is the same report coming, maybe weekly report from the team about the status of their initiative program they are doing. But when we try to do the brainstorming and then try to talk about these individual performance triggers, then we realize that, oh, some of the data we all assume that it should have been gone this way and it should have been done, and we just presented it. It's nobody's fault, but because of sometime again it becomes because of same reporting, weekly reporting, it becomes, as I said, that's why I said management becomes very operational. And that
true,
is why governance play very important role, where you need to read the right signal, the right KPI, and then monitor the and even what you can call, even question the report. If everything is green, sometimes just questioning, you are not questioning the team who is sending, but actually questioning the report itself, and maybe you'll able to find the real performance of that particular program initiative. So that's very valid point, Kasim. Yeah. So, Kasim, let's move on to another segment of this podcast. Here, let's talk about little bit about communication. Okay. Again, what I have felt, Kasim, for many people, and you may correlate with me. For many people, governance means just communicating the performance of that program initiative. That's all uh, uh, about governance for them. But that's not true. Am I correct,
Absolutely.
Kasim?
Absolutely, Mr. Kailash. Yeah, this is absolutely correct. And again, you're right. There are there are management people, there are leaders who know the balance between governance and the program management or the project management. They understand and they align the project management, program management, and even portfolio management, the P3M, along with the governance component, and they align it. They actually help you, they drive you, they guide you to align it with the organizational governance. And like I said, that I'm lucky to have these kind of mentors and these kind of management in my current and my previous jobs as well, who actually understand this thing. But at the same time, I have also worked with in some environments where the understanding about the governance and about the program management uh, is more on the communication and sharing the data or sharing the information part. We all know that okay, project management is 70% of communication. We all know those lines and those statements. That's true, but communication is information exchange from both sides, from the management and the governance leaders. If you're the governance leader, then you just need to communicate from one side. It has to be a conversation, it has to be information exchange. And as you rightly said, Mr. Kailash, at the beginning, maybe people who joined late, that was a very valid point, that management takes technical tactical decisions, and governance is supposed to provide them with the governance insights, bring them on the table with you, empower them with the information so they can take the informed decision for you. And governance needs to trigger the initiatives, or I would say the points where they think that at this stage a program should be continued, and obviously they need to provide all the evidences and all the data accordingly. So, of course, governance is about communicating the right information at the right time and enforcing as well. So, one of my top management person, he actually said the right thing, that governance needs to enforce things if they have to. So governance is not about communication. You're absolutely right. It's about reading signals. It's about suggesting if governance model needs to be adopted according to the situation. It's about helping the project manager in reading those signals. As you rightly said, project managers and even from the client side, maybe they are not transmitting the wrong information. They are probably being overwhelmed with all the information and all the activities they're doing on daily basis. They're engaged on daily level, they're engaged on meetings, moms, technical discussions, and whatnot. And maybe they are missing that bird eye view which a governance leader needs to provide them. And this is what I meant by reading signals. So it's about enabling and helping the other departments along with the PMO in identifying and looking into the reports and all the other parameters to see what needs to be done next.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, rightly said, Kasim, governance is much beyond just information distribution, or just communication to the various stakeholder. uh, Again, I'll say those are more again a tactical or a management activity, distributing information rather than governance. Actually, governance is
True.
more about, you rightly said, reading the signals from, is the health is really as per what has been agreed in that program charter, or justified via the business case, or is it following the right trajectory as
Yeah.
defined
True.
via the program roadmap. So that's absolutely right. So Kasim, I saw, there are a lot of questions that have now has come in the LinkedIn also. So maybe we'll take some of those questions as well. But before we take those questions on LinkedIn, from this audience, I would like to also talk about in my next section of this podcast. I want to talk about the governance principles. Okay. Okay. And again, the program management standard, the portfolio management standard, that one principle that stand outs in governance is, uh, you know, ensuring transparency, responsibility, accountability, sustainability, and fairness. This
Yeah.
principle is very, very uh, close to the governance responsibilities. And Kasim, correct me if I'm wrong. When we say, even let's say transparency, we always say transparency builds trust. Um, if there is there is no transparency between the performing organization of a program and with the customer for which we are performing that particular program, if there is a lack of transparency in terms of the program performance, in terms of program benefit realization for those customer, then there will be lack of trust, and you may not able to because of the lack of trust, the program success will also be the questionable here in this area. So what I'm trying to tell you here, these principles, where transparency is a very important part of governance, and as I say, even fairness, uh, responsibility, accountability, sustainability, these are the key elements of governance. I would like to ask you, Kasim, in especially in the Middle East region, when these programs are initiated, okay, you have a lot of work experience in this region. how how are these principles are uh, taken in those program, in those program initiative, how those principles are they taken really seriously, or how they shape the governance aspect of the program, especially in the Middle East region. Would you like to share with all of us this experience, please?
Sure. So let's start from the first point about the transparency. Right now, it's a very delicate thing, honestly, Mr. Kailash. Being transparent as a project manager is really important, right? And being vigilant as a project manager is also very important, and all those aspects which we all know. Now, a governance leader, and maybe at a steer co level, or at a senior program level, one must be clear what information needs to be transmitted to whom. So when we do the stakeholder register and stakeholder analysis, we always do, project managers and program managers, as per the PMI standard, they are supposed to do the stakeholder analysis, that who is going to be informed at what stage about what information. Transparency is important, but at the same time, all the information is not meant for all the stakeholders. I have personally seen a lot of projects, not projects, but at certain stages of the project, a lot of things going into a challenge because of some information being supplied to a stakeholder at a wrong stage in a wrong manner. It's a common saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So this really matters a lot when you are transmitting the information, when you're breaking a news. For example, the project is going to be delayed for any reason, for if there is a CR. So being transparent is fine, but the way you're going to communicate and transmit this information to your internal management and your external management, that again requires a good exposure of the stakeholders. At the same time, you need to be vigilant as well. About this region, now I'll come to this region point as well. This region, obviously, it's dynamic. Like I said, that this region has multi-layered hierarchical level, and this actually again makes this point very sensitive. That when you are sharing information, you need to be transparent, but at the same time, you need to be aware of who you are actually communicating the information to, what kind of information, to what extent you need to transmit, and what how do you need to share the information as well. There are people, honestly, again, in the US market, no disrespect to anyone, obviously everyone has their own culture and everything. Now in US market, maybe it's quite easy for a product manager to reach out to a CEO, right? And discuss a point and share an information, because that CEO probably that's a different environment. That's why we always talk about the adaptability of your governance and communication model, right? So in one region, that communication channel may work very fine. You can simply tell them that this is how the project status is because of this information, and at that point the project scope is going to differ from the actual baseline, or whatever is the news, or whatever is the decision. And you may find it very easy to get a decision right away from the top management. Speaking of Middle East, as I mentioned, it's multi-layered, and the top management at time holds the authority and the approval with them, but they are occupied by so many other things and so many other businesses or maybe departments, that delegation is a challenge here. I mean, delegation of power and delegation of authority is something in some programs and some projects, those were there, and the challenges were obviously less. But wherever there is the delegation of power is lacking and the multi-layer is still there, this is where you need to be careful while being transparent. So being transparent is good, but at the same time, you need to have a very
Yeah,
good understanding of the stakeholder engagement.
absolutely, absolutely. You must read the environment in which you operate, if I have to
Exactly.
conclude that way.
Yeah.
So Kasim, I think so. This is really, really awesome, and there are a lot, many things to discuss. But time is of again very important constraints. What we will do, I see some questions where let's take few questions. Is there are a lot of questions that has come on LinkedIn. Is going to be impossible because we are close to 1 hour, and you have your own other priorities. I have my own other priorities after this. Well, we'll take few
Yeah.
questions which the audience has asked, and you know and we will, so let me see some question here, Kasim. Okay. Okay, so there are question, of course a lot of people are showing greetings for the session. Is there any tool to do so? So, Kasim, let's take this question from Umair Kamar. Okay, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Umair is asking, is there any tool to do so? That means, is any tools for effective governance? Would you like to share a few things that, Kasim, around that?
Yeah. That's actually a good question, and that's actually a question which comes in most of people's mind. Now, but we need to just understand one thing. Tools are there. Obviously, I'm not going to advocate any tool here on this platform, but obviously, there are a lot of tools. And certainly, the organization should use some portfolio or project management tool. That tool should be there. But Umer, let's focus on the idea of reading signals when we talk about governance, right? I'm not talking about project management. For project management, certainly there should be tools. There are tools. There are many tools, like I can name few and everyone knows about it. ClickUp is there, Monday.com, and even Microsoft Project is there. And there are AI component added into it as well. Jira is there. Every every organization has their own utilization, their own way to use the tools, and every tool has their own best sides and some challenging sides as well. That's a separate discussion. But about governance, what we are mainly talking about adaptability, there is no tool for that, because this is where the governance experience and governance framework comes into play. So for framework designing, you don't really need a tool. You need to have a mindset of understanding how you can adopt governance. As Mr. Kailash was explaining, what are the pillars of governance, right? So you need to, even on simple pen and paper, you can write down the governance structure by yourself. And then most important part is you need to align it with your organizational governance structure, especially if you're working in a multinational organization, which has different regions and different offices at the different geographical locations, and everyone is, and there is no centralized, for example, if there is no centralized governance model, then my suggestion is be go with your organizational governance structure. Align your
Yeah,
regional governance model with your regional with your or global structure, so that there is no rift and your organization goals are aligned as well. So again, from the tools perspective, for the governance adaptability, there is no tool, but from the tools you read the signals.
absolutely, absolutely. And if I continue from there, Kasim, see this PMIS, what we call Project Management Information System or Program Management Information System or Portfolio Management Information System. Managing information, the better you'll able to manage the information using these, and you rightly said, tool could be, the Microsoft Enterprise Server, EPM solution, Clarity, Primavera. You spoke
Yeah.
about Jira, Trello, and so the management tool and governance tools are not two different thing. Okay. um, and today's tools are actually uh, have evolved a lot, that they really makes your governance job very very easy. Okay, where they uh, defines, you rightly said, they analyze your trend when the data is continuously updated into these program management information system. It does predictive analysis for you, and it tells you what is your estimate to complete, estimate at complete, to complete performance index. And it does everything automatically, where earlier there were a lot of manual works were there, kind of things and all. So any project management information system or program management information system that you are using, see that it has these governance reporting, and plus all these matrix, or you can call signals, performance signals, that leading indicator and lagging indicator. The lagging
Exactly.
indicator is nothing but the CPI, SPI, cost variance, schedule variance. These are all lagging indicator, and leading indicator are nothing but those etc, how much is the estimate to complete from here
Time to
onward.
complete. Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
and again, what is the overall program budget when the program will get complete, estimated completion, and at what rate we should progress, so that the program will able to meet the expectations as authorized via the program charter, that to complete performance index. So today, these all program management information system, they very clearly tells you, analyze the trend, they understand the patterns in which the program is going, and they populate these signals that it's time to take corrective action, it's time to take preventive action, otherwise the program not going to achieve for what it has been authorized and the resources has been committed. So that's a very good answer, Kasim, to Umair. Now, there's another question which I could see in that LinkedIn. Is there anything governance aspect which is not covered in the standard for program management or PMI standards kind of things and all, which you know you are practicing in your region or in your initiative, Kasim? Do you have anything other than that? That was another question, interesting question I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually a very interesting question. And as I said at the beginning, that uh, knowledge is there.
Yeah,
PMI standards are gold, right?
yeah,
Uh, it, you talk about product management, then there is program management, then there's portfolio management, right? So all standards are there. Those standards are true, and those standards are applicable, and those processes, all those whatever is there in in those books, we are not going to that details. But in my experience, what I have observed is that it's not that there is something in the book or in the concepts or in the theory which is not applicable. What I have learned is there are certain areas in those program governance and project management principles which are maybe more applicable in the Middle East region than they were applicable in the US region, right? So principles are there, standards are the same. It's just that where you need to focus. So I'll just give you an example. Let's talk about phase gate or steer co meetings, right? Where you need to get the decision. In the Western market or in the North American market, in my experience, you go on call, you go on meetings, everything is scheduled. You share the agenda or you share the decision points. Your project manager share that in advance with the management, and the expectation and the reality is that usually the decision makers, when they come on the call, they come prepared. They have gone through your document, they have gone through your information, and they are usually well prepared. And you get your answer, yes or no, whatever, that depends on the context. But that is pretty much standardized. So you need to focus. Where do you need to focus more then? You need to focus more on the actual the case. You need to build up your case strong. You need to focus what do you need from the steerco. You need to be very specific. You need to spend more time there, right? And you can assume that the management or whoever audience are going to come to the meeting, they're already, that's a mature market. They will come, they will say, okay, understood. Let's go ahead with it. You want a phase 2.1 in the project. Okay, there is going to be a separate cost. There you go. In Middle East market, as it's still evolving again, I'm not going to blame anyone, it's still evolving, so it's taking time. People who had empires maybe in real estate, or people who had uh, billions of assets in different businesses, they are now turning into the information technology sector. And this is where their top management or their stakeholders may not be well familiarized with your jargons. You need to spend more time here in aligning with your stakeholders. So while there is a very strong
hmm,
case, what I do in what we do here, my project managers and even my peers and colleagues as well, who are engaged with me in those project deliveries and governance, what we do, even though there is a very clear document written as per the standard and everything, we know what we need to do is we need to reach out, we need to spend more time in convincing the actual decision maker before the steer call. So
yeah,
when they come on the call, they know what you're talking about and they understand. There was a recent project. We were doing a project with the government sector in the Middle East, and a top decision maker, he was not giving a sign off on the requirements. Right. Just sharing one quick example. So uh, that was as per standard. That was as per standard practice. Everything was taken care of. Now he was not uh, fond of you know typing emails or giving approval over the emails. He wanted to have something in writing in front of him so that he can read it. sign it by his hand because this was his practice. So that was a small obstacle, a very small adjustment. So what we did is we went on call with him. We tried to, speak that, okay, is there a problem in the scope? Is there a problem in the design? So there was no problem. We had to focus more on the stakeholder engagement rather than onto the scope alignment. So that's the difference between the markets. Standards are the same. You just have to focus on one area more in Middle East, maybe, where you don't have to focus in the US market.
Very good, very good. I think so. Great answer, Kasim. One more thing, if I have to talk around this question, see, PMI standards are comprehensive. They have evolved from last so many years. And as I said, there are not just the project, program, and portfolio management standard like PMBOK 8th edition, the standard for program management 5th edition, and portfolio management 4th edition, but there are practice guides which are probably not many people go through the content that deeply. If I have to just think something different, Kasim, what I have also experienced in practices is, uh, where we have intent and where we have very well defined responsibility to update the program management plan, and with proper change requests. But one thing we forget is the whole journey of that particular program, whether it's a 3 year, 4 year, 5 year program. We never we never intend, or we were never been realize that we need to also change our governance plan, also our governance
True.
model also.
Very true.
Yeah. So because nowadays the enterprise environment is changing very fast. Okay. um, what a year back something, the environment, organization and enterprise environment, what was 1 year back and what is today, the change is huge. Okay. So when this enterprise environment is changing, we of course we are making those changes into the program management plan and the way of working, which is again tactical thing, management thing. Our way of working is changing, but our way of governance is not changing actually.
Yeah.
So this aspect I would like to answer to my colleague who has asked this question, that uh, please also focus that your governance framework should also evolve. Of course, it may not be as frequently as your management practices and management way of working, but
Yeah.
it should not happen that governance remain the same from last so many years. And that's why we start facing a problem, because uh, sometimes our work is good, but because of the governance is ineffective, that real work, the good work, is not getting the real credit also sometimes. So
True.
governance adaptability should very uh, I think so clearly define and communicate it. That is what one area I would like to say, that that should be more focused kind of things and all.
Agreed. Agreed.
So Kasim, another question which I saw, or probably this will be the last question which we will take kind of things and all. Okay. Uh, you see, governance is not just any one stakeholder responsibility. Is that correct in any program or project and portfolio? Do you agree that governance is every stakeholder responsibility, Kasim?
Yes and no. In a way, governance, there has to be one governance leader, there has to be one governance structure. And as I mentioned, I'm a strong believer that that governance needs to be aligned, well aligned with the organizational governance and organizational goals, organizational strategy. It should not go in a different direction to what actually organizational goals have set the direction for. So there has to be an organizational unit which has the responsibility of managing the project governance, program governance, as well as the other aspect of governance. So this is where I strongly believe a governance structure, governance model, and a governance entity is required. And quick thing, we all know that there are different type of organization, projectized organization or project based organization, and others. So speaking of especially the project based organizations, this is where the governance entity, governance department is really essential. Besides that, going back to your other point, that is it a responsibility of everyone? Yes, this is not their account. They are not accountable for governance, but in their own domain, they're already doing governance. They're taking care of their architects. If there is a sales department, they know what standard of sales documentation, RFP, what mechanism, what process they need to follow, at what stage they need to take a decision of maybe changing their selling price or maybe upselling something. So they already have their governance structures and governance standards, but they
Yes.
don't call it the governance standards because these are very seamlessly integrated and embedded into their own department already. So that's why I said yes and no. Governance unit is critical for all the organization who has the central responsibility and accountability of taking those decisions and those metrics. But at the same time, all the other key departments, this is their responsibility, and they're already doing their level of governance as well.
Very good. Very good. So rightly said, maybe this context of this question is, Kasim, that, if we talk about the program management context, PMO play very important governance responsibility. Uh, and you rightly said projectized organization where PMO is a key stakeholder. In functional organization or in matrix organization, where in functional organization basically there is no PMO kind of role, where every functional team, they are running their own projects and program initiative, uh, and with little bit of PMO structure, or they may be just hiring a temporary subject matter experts who may be playing a PMO responsibility in those functional projects and program. But
Mhm.
definitely PMO has key responsibility toward governance. Of course,
True.
program sponsor, program steering committee, these are also, of course, every role, whether PMO, sponsor, steering committee, they have a different responsibility toward the governance of this particular program to
Yeah.
realize the benefit from this particular program. And not to forget the program manager, he has to play dual role. He has to perform the program management as well as program governance, and especially the governance of a component. It is also called component governance
Yes.
within program components, which are projects, subsidiary program, and many activities which are other than the program and subsidiary program. Governing the program manager have to govern the interdependency management between these component, escalation if any component projects component of a program has any risk, that because there's a risk response strategy called escalate. If
Yeah.
any risk is escalated from those projects to the program level, so it is his governance responsibility that proper oversight is a very important function, as we spoke earlier. Provide that
Absolutely.
oversight, take decision related to that particular risk, so decision making, oversight, and controlling that risk, and integrating those initiative to the larger success of particular program. So program manager definitely have responsibility toward the governance of that particular program initiative as well. So so Kasim, I think so. This is again, there are few more questions are there, but I think so. We will have to maybe stop at some place right now. So first of all, I would like to say, Kasim, it was a great talking to you in this podcast,
Likewise. Yeah.
and it's a lot of insightful um, thoughts that has came from your end, and your experience is evident in your practices, and that's what the community has seen today. And And I hope that the audience have also enjoyed this podcast. And we're going to also populate this podcast. Of course, LinkedIn will broadcast it, share it, but
Yeah.
on YouTube channel of add-on skills, and other Facebook and Insta and other platform also, you can watch this particular podcast. Kasim, just to conclude, before we leave for the day and we close this P3M podcast with Kailash Upadhyay, I want to say thank you for spending your time here. Okay. And here we spoke about governance is very important for P3M success, the project, program, and portfolio management success. We
Yeah.
spoke about governance function. We spoke about governance is much more than just following the standardized processes, or much more than just sending reports, rather visualizing and taking care of signals. We spoke about it's not alone communicating the performance. Governance is more than a communication. And we also spoke about the governance principle of transparency, responsibility, accountability, sustainability, and fairness. How this principle, can be considered into every unique program initiative. I think so. Many more questions we have discussed, but I want to say, Kasim, there are a lot many things to talk. A lot many questions are there on the LinkedIn, but I think so. This is what we can do in this time. Thank
Yeah.
you. It's been pleasure having you here on my podcast. So, Kasim, and your final thought, Kasim.
Likewise. Thank you so much once again for having me, Mr. Kailash, and thank you to the audience as well. And this is really a very insightful discussion. And you're right. All these again, why we had this discussion, and of course there are going to be more discussions as well. These are again for the aspirants. We always talk about how to get how to get through PMP certification maybe, but these sessions are important for those people who are really going through the application of these methodologies. And with our experience, obviously we can see that how those can be beneficial for the other people. So that was a great session, but I still believe that there is a lot to discuss and a lot to share. I would again, on this platform, I would recommend people the PMI standard books. These are obviously the standards. And besides that, if anyone needs more insights and more relatable information, then Mr. Kailash book is recommended one from my side as well. That's a great book, and a lot of insights are there. I'm also trying to put together my experience, my insights from the governance standpoint into a book form as well. And if needed, maybe I will be sharing my thoughts on that platform in a form of book also. And I encourage all of the P3M practitioners to keep sharing their experience. It's not always about the tools. It's not always about the methodology. It's sometimes, and actually most of the times, it's about the application of those tools, application of those methodologies, and about sharing your experiences, maybe from a particular region, maybe from a particular project, maybe from a particular specific domain. And Mr. Kailash, we will probably be speaking about some future, from the futuristic point of view, from maybe for the AI for the governance and maybe some other areas as well. So really looking forward to it.
Thank you, Kasim. It's been great having you here. See you very
Thank you.
soon in some another insightful discussions.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
to the audience, and see you soon. Thank you. Please take care,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you,
Thank you
Kasim.
all. Take
Yeah,
care.
yeah.
Bye bye.